Call the police before they come back. Those terrified words slipped from the lips of a woman who had been in a coma for 6 weeks. When her eyes snapped open, locking onto mine with a clarity that shouldn't have been there, I knew the comfortable life I thought I had was over forever. My name is Susan Miller, and I am 59 years old. This nightmare began on a gray morning in November 2024 when my daughter Chloe rang my doorbell with a suitcase in her hand and tears streaming down her face. I was in the middle of brewing coffee when I heard her voice crack. "Mom, I need to ask you a huge favor." Chloe had always been my pride and joy. 32 years old, a sharp lawyer, married to Justin for 4 years now. It was a marriage I had blessed with nothing but joy. Justin was an architect, well-mannered, from a good family. His mother, Grace, was 68, a widow who owned a stunning historic home in Oak Park and 2 luxury rental properties over in Lincoln Park. "What happened, honey?" I asked her, sliding a mug across the counter. She let out a heavy sigh that seemed to rattle her whole body. "It's Grace. She had an accident 6 weeks ago. She fell down the stairs at her house. She's in a coma, Mom. The doctors say they don't know when she'll wake up or if she ever will." I felt a tight knot form instantly in my throat. Grace had always treated me with respect, even if we weren't exactly best friends. She was one of those mother-in-laws who kept a polite distance, but she was never cruel. "I am so sorry, Chloe. How is Justin holding up?" "He's destroyed," my daughter replied, wiping her tears. "That's actually why I came to ask you this. Justin and I have to go to London. It's urgent. It's a job opportunity we literally cannot pass up, but we can't leave Grace alone at the hospital. The private nurse we hired quit yesterday. Mom, could you please stay with her? It would only be for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I looked at my daughter. She had deep, dark circles under her eyes. I knew their marriage had been going through a rough patch for the last year. Justin had lost a massive project downtown, and money had become a constant source of tension between them. "Of course, honey, you can count on me." Chloe hugged me tight. "Thank you, Mom. You have no idea what this means to us." That afternoon, they drove me to the facility. It was a private place, hushed, with white hallways that smelled of antiseptic and fading flowers. Grace's room was on the 3rd floor. When I walked in, I saw her lying in that bed, hooked up to machines that let out a rhythmic, lonely beeping sound. Her face was pale, her hands motionless on the sheets. There was a yellowish bruise on her right temple, and her gray hair was brushed neatly to one side. Chloe handed me a list of instructions, nurse schedules, emergency numbers, and doctor contacts. "Mom, call me for anything. We'll be in London, but we'll keep our phones on." Justin walked into the room. He greeted me with a tired smile. "Mrs. Miller, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. My mother is all I have." There was something in his voice I couldn't quite decipher. Sadness, sure, but there was something else underneath it, something I couldn't name at that moment. The next morning, I walked them to the hospital entrance. Chloe hugged me one last time. "I love you, Mom. We'll be back in 2 weeks." I watched them get into the Uber. Chloe was in the back seat, staring out the window. Justin was in the front, typing on his phone. The car pulled away and disappeared into the traffic. I went back up to the 3rd floor and walked into Grace's room. The machines were still beeping. The morning sun was streaming through the window, lighting up her still face. I sat in the chair next to her bed. I pulled my prayer beads out of my purse and started praying quietly. I'm not a particularly religious woman, but in moments like this, you look for comfort wherever you can find it. 10 minutes passed, then 15, then 20, and then it happened. I heard a sound, a soft moan, almost imperceptible. I looked up. Grace's fingers moved. I stood up immediately, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Grace, can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, painfully slowly, she opened her eyes. I froze. Grace looked directly at me. Her eyes were flooded with terror. She moved her lips, trying to form words. I leaned in close over the bed. "It's okay, Grace. You're in the hospital. You're safe." She shook her head weakly. Her hand moved, grasping for mine. When I took it, I felt her desperate grip. And then, with a voice that was raspy and broken, she whispered, "Call the police before they come back. The air left my lungs. What? What are you talking about, Grace? She squeezed my hand harder. They did this to me. Justin. And Chloe. I felt the world stop spinning. I don't understand. What are you saying? Grace closed her eyes as if every word cost her immense effort. The tea. They put something in my tea. I felt dizzy. And then, the stairs. I didn't fall, Susan. They watched me fall. Tears began to slide down her cheeks. They want my house, my properties. They want me to die. My mind was suddenly flooded with images. Chloe crying in my kitchen, Justin with that tired smile, the car disappearing down the street. Grace opened her eyes again. She looked at me with an intensity that made my blood run cold. You'll be next, Susan. If they know I woke up, you'll be the next one. I couldn't move. Grace's words echoed in my head like warning bells. You'll be next. I stared at her, trying to process what I had just heard. My daughter? My Chloe? Capable of something like this? Grace, I need you to explain everything to me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Are you sure about what you're saying? She nodded weakly. Her breathing was irregular, and I could see the effort it took to stay awake after 6 weeks in a coma. I have to rest, she murmured. But don't call the nurses yet. If they find out I woke up, they will know. And they'll come back. Who will come back? Chloe and Justin are in London, Grace. She closed her eyes. That's what everyone thinks, she whispered. But don't trust anything they told you. Before I could respond, Grace fell asleep again. Her breathing became deeper, more regular. The machines continued beeping normally. I sat back down in the chair with my legs shaking. I pulled out my phone and looked at the screen. It was 10:15 in the morning. Chloe had sent me a text 2 hours ago. We're at the airport, Mom. I'll text you when we land in London. Love you. London? Or was it a lie? I put the phone away. I needed to think. I needed to remember. Because if what Grace said was true, then everything I believed about my daughter was an illusion. Chloe was born in May of 1992 on a rainy Thursday I will never forget. I was 27, I was a nurse at a public hospital, and her father, Robert, worked as an accountant for a construction firm. From the time she was little, Chloe was brilliant. She got the best grades. She read books her classmates didn't even understand. At 16, she won a state-level debate championship. I was so proud I cried at the ceremony. Robert died when Chloe was 20, a massive heart attack while driving home. She was in her second semester of law school. I thought she would drop out, that the grief would break her. But no, she got stronger. She finished her degree with honors. Mom, she told me on graduation day, everything I am is thanks to you. I will never let you down. And I believed her. She met Justin in 2019 at a seminar on urban planning and real estate law. He was 30, an architect, freshly licensed, with a charming smile and impeccable manners. When she introduced me to him, I knew Chloe loved him. Mom, he's different. He's smart, hardworking, and he makes me happy. I accepted him without reservation. Justin came from a good family. His father had been a civil engineer who passed away years ago. His mother, Grace, was an elegant woman, a woman of few words, but respectable. The wedding was in March of 2021, a small ceremony in a garden. Chloe wore a simple ivory dress. Justin cried with emotion while saying his vows. Grace sat in the front row, a silk shawl over her shoulders, watching everything with a serene expression. After the wedding, we visited Grace's house in Oak Park. It was an antique home, 2 stories, with a sunroom full of geraniums. The wooden stairs creaked under your feet. On the walls were old black and white photos of Justin's family, his father in his youth, his grandmother, his great-grandfather in a military uniform. This house is over 100 years old, Grace explained as she poured coffee into porcelain cups. It belonged to my mother-in-law, and before her, her mother. Someday it will be Justin's. It is the only thing I can leave him. I remember thinking, how lucky my daughter is, a family with roots, with history. The first 2 years of marriage were good. Chloe opened a small practice. Justin got sporadic projects. They didn't have money to burn, but they weren't struggling. But in 2023, something changed. Justin lost a major project, a high-rise apartment complex he was going to design in the Loop. The developers filed for bankruptcy before breaking ground, and Justin lost months of work without seeing a dime. The arguments started. I heard them when I went to visit, raised voices behind the bedroom door, uncomfortable silences during dinner. One day, Chloe came to my house with red eyes. "Mom, Justin is desperate. He says his mother won't help him, even though she has 2 rental properties in Lincoln Park and won't lend him a single dollar." "Maybe Grace has her reasons, honey." "Reasons? She gets $8,500 a month in rent and lives alone in that huge mansion. Why won't she help us? We're her family." It was the first time I saw real resentment in my daughter's eyes. In April of 2024, things got worse. Justin couldn't find work. Chloe had to close her practice because she didn't have enough clients. They moved temporarily into a smaller apartment to save money. And then, in September of 2024, Grace's accident happened. Chloe called me crying. "Mom, Grace fell down the stairs. She's in a coma. The doctors don't know if she's going to wake up." I went to the hospital that same day. Grace was unconscious with a severe head injury. Justin was sitting next to her, staring into space. "It was an accident," he told me. "I wasn't home." I came back and found her at the bottom of the stairs. Chloe was crying nonstop. "What if she dies, Mom? What if she never wakes up?" I hugged them both. In that moment, I only saw a family destroyed by grief. Now, sitting in that hospital chair, watching Grace sleep, I asked myself, at what point did I lose sight of the truth? Sometimes we trust too much in those we shouldn't. Grace opened her eyes again. She looked at me with urgency. "Susan, I need you to find something." "What is it?" "In my house, in the drawer of my nightstand, there is a blue notebook. Everything is in there. The dates, the names, the conversations I overheard. Everything they planned. Grace, if I go to your house and they find out, I need you to do it before they come back from London. If they really went, if they ever actually left." Her voice cracked. "Susan, I was a fool. I heard them talking 3 months ago. I was in my room and they were in the living room. They thought I was asleep, but I heard everything. I heard how they planned to take my properties, how they needed me to die soon because they had debts they couldn't pay." Tears started falling down her face again. "And I did nothing, because they were my son and my daughter-in-law. Because I thought maybe I had heard wrong. Why? Because I didn't want to believe that my own son could wish me dead." I took her hand. "Grace, I'm going to help you. I promise." She nodded, closing her eyes again. "Be careful, Susan. If they discover I woke up, I don't know what they are capable of." I left the hospital at 2 in the afternoon. The November sun was shining over Chicago, that deceptive golden light that makes everything look calmer than it really is. But I wasn't calm. I walked to the train station with Grace's words branded into my mind. In the nightstand drawer, a blue notebook. I had to make a decision. I could ignore everything Grace had told me. I could think the coma had confused her, that her memories were distorted. I could wait for Chloe to come back from London and ask her directly. Or I could find that notebook. I got on the train heading toward Oak Park. The trip took 40 minutes. I sat by the window, watching the streets, the shops, the people walking by without knowing that my world was crumbling. I arrived at Grace's house shortly after 3. It was an old brick building with a heavy carved wooden door and a huge bay window with iron bars. The garden had a large maple tree shedding its leaves onto the pavement. I took out the key Chloe had given me. "Just in case you need anything from the house while we watch Grace," she had said. I opened the door. The air inside smelled stale, like old wood and silence. I turned on the hall light. Everything was in order. Too much in order. I walked up the stairs slowly. Every step creaked under my feet. I reached the 2nd floor. There were 3 doors. The middle one was Grace's room. I went in. It was a spacious room with an iron bed covered by a white cotton quilt. On the walls were framed photos. Justin as a child, Justin at graduation, Justin on his wedding day with Chloe. On the nightstand was a set of wooden prayer beads and an unlit white candle. I approached the nightstand. I opened the top drawer. Inside were folded handkerchiefs, a bottle of lavender lotion, an envelope with old receipts. Nothing else. I opened the second drawer. It was empty. I felt a knot in my stomach. What if someone had already taken the notebook? What if Justin and Chloe found it before the accident? I opened the third drawer, and there it was, a hardcover notebook, navy blue with worn corners. I took it out with trembling hands and opened it. Grace's handwriting was small, slanted, meticulous. The first page had a date, August 15th, 2024. I read, "Today I heard something I shouldn't have heard. Justin and Chloe were in the living room. I had gone down for a glass of water. I stopped on the stairs because I heard my son's voice, agitated. 'We can't go on like this, Chloe. We owe $250,000. The bank is going to foreclose on the condo. Your mother has 2 properties in Lincoln Park. Why doesn't she give them to you as an early inheritance?' I already asked her. She told me no, that those properties are her only income. Income? She lives alone in this massive house? What more does she need?" There was a silence. Then I heard Chloe's voice, lower, colder. "Justin, if your mother isn't going to help us, maybe we should think about other options." "What options?" "She's already 68. She's not going to live forever." I felt the air leave my body. I stood paralyzed on the stairs, not daring to move. "Chloe, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that if something happened to her, you would inherit everything. The house, the properties, the rents. We could get out of this nightmare." I didn't want to listen anymore. I went back up to my room in silence, and I cried. I closed the notebook. I felt my hands shaking. I kept reading. August 20th, 2024. Today, Chloe came to visit me. She brought pastries and coffee. She was smiling. She asked if I was feeling healthy. I told her yes, that I was perfectly fine. "That's great, Grace. It's important to take care of yourself at this age." Something in her tone made me feel uncomfortable, as if she were evaluating me, waiting for me to get sick. August 28th, 2024. Justin called me on the phone. He asked if I had my will up to date. I told him yes, that everything was in order, that he was my only heir. "Perfect, Mom. Just wanted to make sure." When I hung up, I realized he hadn't asked how I was. He only cared about the will. September 10th, 2024. Today was the day I knew I had to be careful. Chloe and Justin came to dinner. I made roast chicken. We ate in the dining room. The conversation was polite, superficial. We talked about the weather, the news, nothing important. After dinner, Chloe offered me tea. "Let me make it, Grace. You relax." I sat in the living room. She came back with a steaming mug. Herbal tea. "Drink it hot," she said. "It'll help you sleep better." I drank half. It tasted slightly bitter, chemical, but I thought maybe it was the brand. 10 minutes later, I felt dizzy, extremely dizzy. The room started to spin. "Do you feel okay, Mom?" Justin asked. "A little woozy. Maybe you should lie down." They helped me up the stairs. I remember my legs weren't responding right. I remember Justin holding my arm, but not with care, with impatience. I laid down. I closed my eyes. I heard their voices in the hall. "Do you think that was enough?" Chloe asked. "I don't know. Maybe we should wait a little longer." "We can't wait, Justin. The bank gives us until October." I fell asleep, or maybe I passed out. I don't know. When I woke up, it was 4 in the morning. My mouth was dry, and I had a terrible headache. I went down to the kitchen for water. And there, in the trash can, I saw the empty packet. It was a small white paper packet, no label, but inside there was white powder residue. I kept it. It's hidden in my closet, inside a shoebox. It's my only proof. I felt a chill run down my spine. I kept reading with shaking hands. September 15th, 2024. Today I woke up with fear. A fear I had never felt. Fear of my own son. At what point did everything go wrong? At what point did the boy I raised, the one I sang lullabies to, the one I held when he had nightmares, turn into someone capable of wishing me dead? I don't know what to do. If I go to the police, will they believe me? I have no real proof. Only an empty packet and my suspicions. And if I'm wrong, if this is all a product of my imagination, I would destroy my family forever. But if I'm not wrong, then I am living with my own assassins. The last entry was dated September 20th, 2024, 4 days before the accident. September 20th, 2024. This will be my last entry. If something happens to me, I want there to be a record. Today, Justin came to the house. He asked me to sign some papers. He said they were to renew the lease contracts for the Lincoln Park properties. I told him I wanted my lawyer to review them first. He got angry. I had never seen him like that. So cold, so distant. Mom, don't you trust me? Of course I trust you, son, but these are important decisions. He left without saying goodbye. I called my lawyer, Attorney Davis. I asked him to come tomorrow to review those documents. I'm scared. I don't know why, but I'm scared. If something happens to me, let someone read this. Let someone know the truth. My name is Grace Miller. I am 68 years old, and I think my son wants to kill me. I closed the notebook. I sat on Grace's bed with the notebook in my hands, trying to breathe. Everything made sense now. Chloe's insistence that I watch Grace, the trip to London right now, the urgency, the desperation. I looked around the room. Everything was in its place. Too much in its place. Like someone had cleaned carefully. Like someone had wiped away the fingerprints. I went downstairs. I went to the kitchen. I opened the cabinets. I looked for the packet Grace talked about. It wasn't there. I looked in the closet in her room, in the shoebox she mentioned. It wasn't there either. Someone had been here. Someone had cleaned up the evidence. I left the house with the notebook hidden in my purse. I locked the door. I walked quickly toward the avenue. And then my phone rang. It was Chloe. Mom, we just landed in London. Everything is good. How is Grace? I looked at the screen. I didn't know what to answer, because now I knew the truth. My daughter wasn't in London, or if she was, it was part of a plan. And I was alone, with a woman who had just woken up from a coma and a notebook that could cost me my life. I didn't answer Chloe's text immediately. I stood on the corner near Grace's house, phone in hand, trying to control the trembling taking over my body. Mom, we just landed in London. Everything is good. How is Grace? I could imagine her on the other end, maybe sitting in an airport cafe, or maybe in a hotel, or maybe nowhere near London. Maybe she was still in Chicago, waiting for news. I took a deep breath and typed, "Everything is fine, honey. Grace is the same. Get some rest. Love you." I sent the message. I put the phone away, and I walked toward the train station with the blue notebook hidden at the bottom of my bag. As I tell this story, I wonder where you are listening from. That night I couldn't sleep. I got back to my place a little after 7 in the evening. I've lived alone since Robert died, in a small condo in Skokie. 2 bedrooms, a modest living room, a kitchen where I still keep the mugs he gave me for our 10th anniversary. I made myself some tea. I sat on the sofa. I took out the notebook again and read it cover to cover. Every word, every date, every detail. And then I started remembering things I had ignored. 3 months ago, in August of 2024, Chloe had come to visit me on a Saturday morning. She had deep circles under her eyes and restless hands. "Mom, I need to talk to you." "What's wrong, honey?" She poured herself coffee and sat across from me. "Justin and I are going through a really hard time. We have debts, a lot of debts." "How much do you owe?" $250,000. I felt the air leave my lungs. $250,000. It was a massive sum. How did you get into that much debt? Justin invested in a project that fell through. We took out loans to stay afloat, and now the bank is pressuring us. If we don't pay in 2 months, they're going to take the condo. I hugged her. "Honey, I wish I could help, but you know my pension barely covers my bills. I don't have that kind of money." She nodded. "I know, Mom. I'm not asking you for money. I just needed to vent." There was a silence. And then Chloe said something that at the time didn't seem important, but now resonated with a terrible weight. Grace could help us. She has 2 properties in Lincoln Park that give her over $8,000 a month. But when Justin asked her for a loan, she refused. Maybe she has her reasons, Chloe. Reasons? Her voice hardened. What reasons can a 68-year-old woman have to hoard money she's never going to spend? What does she want it for? To take it to the grave? Her tone surprised me. Chloe had always been respectful, but in that moment, I saw something different in her eyes, something bitter, something resentful. Honey, don't talk like that. Grace has the right to do whatever she wants with her money. I know, she replied, looking down. You're right, I'm sorry. It's just that I'm so stressed. The conversation changed topics. We talked about other things, but when she left, I was left with a strange feeling in my chest. Now, sitting in my living room, with the blue notebook in my hands, I understood that feeling. It was the first sign, the first crack. The next day, I went back to the hospital. It was 8 in the morning. I entered Grace's room carefully, closing the door behind me. She was awake. She looked at me with alert eyes. "Did you find it?" she whispered. I nodded. I took the notebook out of my purse and showed it to her. "I read it all, Grace, and I believe you." She closed her eyes as if a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "Thank you, Susan. Thank you for believing me." I sat next to her bed. "Grace, I need you to tell me everything from the beginning. What happened the day of the accident?" She took a deep breath. It was September 24th, a Tuesday. Justin and Chloe came to dinner. I had made pumpkin soup and roast chicken. We ate in the dining room. Everything seemed normal. We talked about work, tenants, unimportant things. She paused. After dinner, Chloe offered me tea, just like that time in August. She told me it was herbal tea, that it would relax me. I hesitated, but I didn't want to seem paranoid. I didn't want them to think I didn't trust them. "Did you drink the tea?" She nodded. "Half a cup." And 10 minutes later, I started feeling bad, dizzy, confused, like my limbs were heavy. I got up from the chair to go to the bathroom, but my legs wouldn't work. Justin helped me walk toward the stairs. Her voice broke. I thought he was helping me up to bed, but when we got to the top landing, I stumbled. I was so drugged, Susan. I reached out for him to catch me. I felt his hand on my arm for a second, and then he just let go. He stepped back. Tears began to roll down her cheeks. He watched me fall. I don't know how many steps I tumbled down. I remember the pain in my head. I remember the blood. And I remember Chloe's voice, cold, calculating, saying, "It's done." I was speechless. After that, everything went black. I woke up here 2 days ago. But I didn't say anything because I was scared they would come back to finish what they started. I took her hand. "Grace, we have to call the police. Now." She shook her head. "Not yet. I need proof. The notebook isn't enough. It's just my word against theirs. And I was in a coma for 6 weeks. They can say I'm confused, that my memories are distorted from the trauma. But the packet, the powder you found in the trash, it's gone. I looked for it when I wrote the last entry. Someone had thrown it out. Or maybe they hid it better. And the documents Justin asked you to sign? I didn't sign them. My lawyer never got to review them. And after the accident, I suppose Justin got rid of them. I felt helpless. So, what do we do? Grace looked at me with determination. "I need you to keep acting normal. Tell Chloe I'm still in a coma. Don't tell her I woke up. If they think their plan worked, they'll lower their guard. And then, only then, can we act. Grace, it's dangerous. If they find out I woke up, that's why I need your help, Susan. You are the only person I can trust." I nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll do what you ask, but promise me we'll be careful." "I promise." That afternoon, Chloe video called me. She and Justin appeared on the screen. They were in what looked like a hotel. I could see a bed behind them, beige curtains, a window with a view of buildings. "Mom, how are you? How's everything?" I swallowed hard. "Fine, honey. Everything good? And Grace?" "She's the same. The nurses say she's stable, but there haven't been any changes." I saw Justin and Chloe exchange a look. A quick look, almost imperceptible, but I saw it. "Are you eating well, Mom? Resting?" Chloe asked. "Yes, honey, don't worry about me." "I miss you, Mom. We love you so much." "I love you too," I lied. When I hung up, I felt nauseous. That night I went back to Grace's house. I needed to find more proof, something, anything. I went up to the second floor. I went into Justin's old room. It was a room he used when he stayed over at his mother's house. It had a twin bed, a small desk, a closet. I opened the closet. I checked the desk drawers, and in the back of the bottom drawer, I found something, a manila envelope. Inside were legal documents. I read them with shaking hands. It was a power of attorney dated September 15th, 2024. It gave Justin full power over all of Grace Miller's properties. But Grace's signature was fake. I had seen her handwriting in the notebook, and that signature wasn't hers. They had forged it. I put the document in my purse. I closed the drawer. I left the house. And as I walked through the dark streets of Oak Park, I knew there was no turning back. Because now I had the proof. And with that proof, I could destroy my own daughter. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room of my condo with the fake power of attorney on the table, reading it over and over under the lamplight. I, Grace Miller, being of sound mind, grant full and sufficient power of attorney to my son Justin. The signature at the bottom was a clumsy attempt to imitate Grace's hand. I looked at the date, September 15th, 2024. 5 days before the accident. 9 days after Grace wrote in her notebook that Justin had asked her to sign papers, and she refused. It all fit. Justin had forged the document, and when Grace said she wanted her lawyer to review the real papers, he knew she would discover the fraud. So they decided to accelerate the plan. The tea, the stares, the calculated neglect, and 6 weeks of coma that were supposed to be death. But Grace had survived. At 6 in the morning, I made coffee. I took a shower. I dressed in comfortable clothes. I put the power of attorney in my purse, along with the blue notebook. And then I made a decision. I called Attorney Davis, Grace's lawyer. His number was on the contact list Chloe had given me. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Hello, Mr. Davis. Good morning. This is Susan Miller. I'm Chloe's mother, Grace Miller's daughter-in-law." "Ah, yes. Good morning, Mrs. Miller. How is Mrs. Grace? I heard about the accident. Terrible tragedy. She's still in the hospital, sir, but I need to speak with you. It's urgent." There was a pause. "What is this about?" "I prefer not to talk over the phone. Could we meet today?" "I have openings this afternoon. Does 5 work?" "Perfect. Where is your office?" He gave me the address, downtown, near the courthouse. "I'll be there." "Thank you." I hung up. I had 11 hours ahead of me. 11 hours to think, to prepare, to decide if I was really going to betray my own daughter. I got to the hospital at 9. Grace was awake, but hearing footsteps in the hall, she shut her eyes immediately and went still. A nurse came in, a young woman, about 30, with blue scrubs and a professional smile. "Good morning, ma'am. How is she today?" "Fine, thanks," I answered. The nurse checked the machines, wrote something on a tablet, and left. When the door closed, Grace opened her eyes. "Every time I hear footsteps, I think it's them," she whispered, "that they're coming to finish what they started." I approached her bed. "Grace, I found something last night, a power of attorney, dated September 15th, with your forged signature." Her eyes went wide. "Where did you find it?" "In the desk in Justin's old room, at your house." I knew it existed. "Justin showed it to me that day when he asked me to sign. I refused. I told him I wanted my lawyer to check it first. He got very angry, put the papers away, and left. Well, apparently he decided to forge your signature." Grace closed her eyes. My own son, my only son, the boy I raised alone after his father died. I gave him everything, paid for his school, bought his first car, and this is how he pays me back. "Grace, I have an appointment with your lawyer, Attorney Davis, today. I'm going to show him the power of attorney. He can help us." She nodded. Be careful, Susan. If Justin and Chloe discover you're investigating... I know, but we can't just sit here. At 5 o'clock, I arrived at Attorney Davis's office. It was an old building with an elevator that rattled on the way up. His office was on the 3rd floor. I knocked. "Come in," a deep voice responded. Attorney Davis was a man of about 65, white hair, gold-rimmed glasses. He wore a gray suit. His desk was covered in files. "Mrs. Miller, come in. Sit down, please." I sat across from him. "Mr. Davis, before we start, I need this to stay between us, completely confidential." He nodded. "Of course, attorney-client privilege applies." I took the power of attorney out of my purse and placed it on his desk. "I found this in Grace's house. I want you to look at it." The lawyer took the document. He read it carefully. His expression changed. He frowned. "Where did you say you found this?" "In Justin's room, Grace's son." "This signature is fake." "I know." He looked at me over his glasses. "Mrs. Miller, do you know what this means?" "This document gives Justin full power over all his mother's assets. With this paper, he could sell the Lincoln Park properties, mortgage the Oak Park house, drain the bank accounts. And if the signature is fake, then it's a felony, forgery, fraud, possible attempted theft. He could go to prison." I took a deep breath. "Sir, there is something else you need to know." I took the blue notebook out of my purse. I handed it to him. "Grace kept a diary. Everything is in here. Her suspicions, the conversations she overheard, the day they drugged her tea." The lawyer opened the notebook. He read in silence for several minutes. His face grew more and more serious. When he finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "My God, this is terrible." "I know. Is Mrs. Grace conscious? Can she testify?" I hesitated. Grace had asked me not to reveal she was awake, but we needed legal help. "Yes, she woke up 3 days ago, but no one knows except me. She is afraid Justin and Chloe will try to kill her again if they find out." The lawyer nodded slowly. "I understand. Mrs. Miller, this is very delicate. We need to act with extreme caution. If what Mrs. Grace says is true, we are talking about attempted murder. What can we do?" "First, I need to speak with her, hear her testimony directly. Then, we must file a formal complaint with the district attorney. With the notebook, the forged document, and her testimony, we have enough to open an investigation. What if Justin and Chloe run? That's why we must act fast. Where are they now?" "They say they're in London. They left 3 days ago." The lawyer frowned. "Do you have proof of that? Tickets? Hotel reservations?" "I don't know. I only know what they told me. Mrs. Miller, I'm going to ask you a favor. Get me any information you can about that trip. Dates, flights, hotels. I need to know if they are really in London or if it's a lie." I nodded. "I will. And in the meantime, stay calm. Don't tell them anything. Act normal. If they suspect anything, they could disappear." I left the office with a crushing weight on my chest. I walked down the busy street as the sun set behind the skyscrapers. People were rushing home from work. The city was alive. But my life wasn't normal anymore, because now I knew my daughter was an accomplice to an attempted murder. That night, I checked Chloe's email. Not her phone, but her account. Years ago, she had computer trouble and gave me her password to help recover some files. She never changed it. I logged in, checked the inbox, sent items, trash, and I found it. An email from United Airlines dated October 28, 2024. Confirmation. Flight UA908, Chicago to London, departing November 5th. Passengers, Chloe and Justin. So they had gone to London. But then, why did Grace say to be careful? Why insist I shouldn't trust anything? I kept looking, and I found another email. Same day, different airline, British Airways. Confirmation. Flight BA295, London to Chicago, departing November 8th, arriving November 9th, 2:15 a.m. Passengers, Chloe and Justin. I felt the air rush out of me. They had bought return tickets for November 9th. Today was November 7th. That meant they were coming back the day after tomorrow, way before the 2 weeks they told me. Why lie about the trip duration? And then I understood. They didn't go to London for work. They went to have an alibi, to be able to say they were thousands of miles away when Grace died. But Grace hadn't died. She had woken up, and now they were coming back. I sat paralyzed in front of my computer screen, staring at that flight confirmation. Arrival, November 9th, 2:15 a.m., the day after tomorrow, in the middle of the night. I looked at the clock. It was 11 p.m. on November 7th. I had less than 30 hours. I closed the laptop. I paced my living room, trying to think clearly. I needed a plan. I needed to protect Grace, and I needed definitive proof before Chloe and Justin returned. I grabbed my phone. I dialed Attorney Davis. He answered on the fifth ring, voice groggy. "Hello? Mr. Davis, it's Susan Miller. Sorry to call so late, but it's urgent. Mrs. Miller, what's wrong?" Chloe and Justin returned from London the day after tomorrow, in the early morning. They lied about the trip length. They were only going for 3 days. I heard the lawyer sit up. "Are you sure?" "Completely. I saw the tickets in my daughter's email." "Then we have to act now, tomorrow. Can you bring Mrs. Grace to my office?" "No, she's still very weak. And if we take her out of the hospital, someone might see. The nurses could tell Justin." "Then I will go to the hospital. Tomorrow, first thing. I need Mrs. Grace to give a formal deposition, and then we will go together to the police station." "What if Chloe and Justin find out?" "They won't. They are still in London. And by the time they get back, we will have filed the complaint. The police can detain them at O'Hare." I breathed deep. "Okay, see you tomorrow." I hung up. I couldn't sleep all night. I sat on the sofa watching the hours tick by on the wall clock. At 5 a.m. I made coffee. At 6, I showered. At 7, I left for the hospital. I got to Grace's room at 8. She was awake, looking out the window. When she saw me enter, she turned her head. "Good morning, Susan." "Good morning, Grace. We have to talk." I told her everything. The plane tickets, the early return, the meeting with Attorney Davis. Grace listened in silence. When I finished, she closed her eyes. I knew they would come back. They need to make sure I'm dead. If they find out I'm still alive, they won't find out. We are filing the report today. Attorney Davis is on his way. Grace, are you sure about this? Once you file, there's no going back. My daughter could go to prison. I felt a lump in my throat. I know, but I can't let them kill you. And I can't let Chloe continue down this path. If I don't stop her now, what will she become? Grace extended her hand. I took it. "You are a very brave woman, Susan, and a good mother, even if your daughter doesn't see it now." Attorney Davis arrived at 10. He entered with a leather briefcase and a small recorder. "Mrs. Grace, good morning. I'm Roberto Davis, your lawyer. Remember me?" Grace nodded. "Of course I remember. You handled my husband's will. And mine." "Exactly. Mrs. Grace, I need you to tell me everything that happened, from the beginning, with as much detail as possible. I'm going to record your statement for the police. Do you agree?" "Yes." The lawyer turned on the recorder and set it on the nightstand. "For the record, today is November 8th, 2024. It is 10 a.m. My name is Roberto Davis, attorney at law. I am at St. Angel Hospital, room 305, with Mrs. Grace Miller. Mrs. Grace, please state your full name and age." "My name is Grace Miller. I am 68 years old." "Mrs. Grace, are you giving this statement voluntarily?" "Yes." "Is anyone pressuring or threatening you to make this statement?" "No." "Perfect. Tell me, in your own words, what happened on September 24th of this year." Grace took a deep breath and then began to speak. She told it all. The conversations she heard in August, the bitter tea, the dizziness, the stares, the betrayal. The lawyer listened in silence, never interrupting. I sat by the window, hands clenched in my lap, trying not to cry. When Grace finished, he turned off the recorder. "Mrs. Grace, this statement is sufficient to open a criminal investigation. But I need to ask you a very important question. Are you willing to formally press charges against your son?" Grace closed her eyes. Tears ran down her cheeks. "He is my only son, the boy I carried." The boy I nursed, the boy I cared for when he had a fever, who I held when he had nightmares. Her voice broke. But I don't recognize that boy anymore. The man who let me fall down those stairs is not my son. He is a stranger capable of killing for money. She opened her eyes. Yes, Mr. Davis, I am willing to press charges. At noon, the lawyer and I left the hospital. We took a cab to the police precinct. The building was gray, imposing, full of people rushing in and out with files. We waited in line. 40 minutes later, we were called back. A detective received us in a small office. He was about 40, short hair, tired expression. Good afternoon. How can I help you? Attorney Davis pulled out the blue notebook, the fake power of attorney, and the recorder. We are here to file a report for attempted murder, forgery, and fraud. The detective frowned. Name of the victim? Grace Miller. Names of the alleged suspects? The lawyer looked at me. I looked down. Justin Miller and Chloe Miller. The detective started typing. Relation to the victim? Justin is the victim's son. Chloe is her daughter-in-law. The detective stopped typing. He looked at us. Are you sure about what you're reporting, ma'am? Completely sure, I answered with a steady voice. He nodded and kept typing. For the next 2 hours, we presented all the evidence. The notebook, the recording, the forgery, the flight emails. The detective listened to the whole tape, read the diary, examined the document. This is serious, he said finally. Very serious. I'm opening an investigation immediately. Where are the suspects right now? In London, but they return tomorrow morning. They land at O'Hare at 2:15 a.m. The detective took notes. I'm going to request an arrest warrant. If the judge signs off, we can pick them up as soon as they land. How long does authorization take? Asked the lawyer. Depends. If the judge sees enough cause, it can be done in 24 hours, but I can't guarantee anything. We left the station at 3. Mr. Davis walked me to the train. Mrs. Miller, we did our part. Now it's up to the justice system. Go home. Rest. And please do not speak to anyone about this, especially not Chloe. I nodded. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for everything. Don't thank me yet. This is just beginning. That night my phone rang. It was Chloe. I stared at the screen for several seconds before answering. Took a breath, pressed green. Hi, honey. Mom, how are you? I miss you so much. I miss you too. Mom, I have something to tell you. Justin and I decided to come back early. We realized we can't leave Grace alone for that long. We arrive tomorrow morning. I swallowed. Tomorrow? Yes. Our flight gets in at 2 a.m. Can you be at the hospital at 9? We want to see you as soon as we land and drop our bags. Sure, honey, I'll be there. Mom, how is Grace? Any changes? I closed my eyes. No, honey, she's the same. Oh, Mom, I hope when we get there we can talk to the doctors, see what options she has. What options she has? The words hit me like a slap. Yes, honey, we'll talk to the doctors. I love you, Mom. See you tomorrow. I love you too. I hung up. I sat on the sofa, phone in hand, watching the screen go black. My daughter just told me she loved me, and I had lied to her. I lied to protect her, to protect Grace, to protect myself. But lies have a price, and tomorrow that price would be collected. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in the living room, staring at the wall clock. The hands moved with cruel slowness. 2 a.m. Chloe and Justin's plane was landing. 3 a.m. They'd be getting their bags. 4 a.m. They'd be arriving at their apartment. And I was still on my sofa, hands clasped, praying. Praying for Grace. Praying for my daughter. Praying for the strength to face what was coming. At 6 a.m, my phone rang. It was Mr. Davis. Mrs. Miller, good morning. I have news. What happened? The judge signed the warrant an hour ago. Police are on their way to the airport. I felt my heart stop. They're going to arrest them there? That's right, as soon as they clear customs. But they landed hours ago, Mr. Davis. They must be home by now. Silence. Damn it! I'm calling the detective. Wait for my call. He hung up. I held the phone, panic rising in my throat. If they were already in the city, if they found out there was a warrant. My phone rang again. This time, it was Chloe. "Mom, good morning. We made it. We're exhausted, but happy to be back. See you at 9 at the hospital?" I looked at the clock. It was 6:30 a.m. "Yes, honey, I'll be there." "Perfect. Justin wants to see his mom. He's very worried about her." Worried. The word made me sick. "See you in a bit." I hung up. I dialed Mr. Davis immediately. "Sir, Chloe just called. They are going to the hospital at 9. "Perfect. I already spoke to the detective. Police will arrest them at the hospital." "Mrs. Miller, I need you to be there, but stay back. Do not approach them. Let the officers do their job." "And Grace? We need to get her out of that room before they arrive. We can't risk them trying to hurt her." "I'm heading there now." I got to the hospital at 7:30, up to the 3rd floor. Grace was awake, eyes full of fear. "Susan, what's happening?" "The judge signed the warrant. The police are going to arrest them here at 9. Grace closed her eyes. "My son is going to be arrested. My God, my son." "Grace, the lawyer is coming. We're moving you to another room. You can't be here when they walk in." She nodded. At 8, Mr. Davis arrived. He spoke to the hospital director, explained the situation. The director authorized moving Grace to a room on the 4th floor under a fake name. 2 orderlies took her in a wheelchair. I followed. The lawyer stayed on the 3rd floor, waiting for the police. We settled Grace in. The new room was smaller, but private. From the window, you could see the parking lot. "Susan, stay with me. I don't want to be alone." "I won't leave you," I promised. I sat by her bed. I held her hand, and we waited. At 10 till 9, I saw a taxi pull into the lot. Chloe and Justin got out. She had a small suitcase. He had a backpack. I watched them walk toward the entrance. Chloe had her hair in a ponytail. Justin looked tired. They looked like a normal couple returning from a trip, but I knew the truth. "They're here," I told Grace. She squeezed my hand. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Davis. "They're here. They went up to the 3rd floor. Police arrived 2 minutes ago. They're waiting for the right moment." What's going to happen? They will arrest them as soon as they enter Grace's room, or what they think is her room. The director put another patient there temporarily. I hung up. Grace looked at me. And now? Now we wait. 10 minutes passed, 15, 20, and then we heard shouting coming from the floor below. Raised voices, a woman screaming, "Let me go! Let me go!" It was Chloe. I felt the world crashing down on me. Grace began to cry silently. I stood paralyzed, listening to my daughter's screams from downstairs. Half an hour later, Mr. Davis came up. He walked in looking grim. They took them. Arrested them in the hallway, right outside room 305. Chloe resisted. Justin tried to run, but officers caught him. "Where did they take them?" I asked, voice shaking. "Central booking. They'll be arraigned this afternoon. If the judge sets bail or holds them, they'll be in custody pending trial." Grace sobbed in the bed. "My son, my poor son." The lawyer approached her. "Mrs. Grace, I am so sorry you have to go through this, but you did the right thing. What they tried to do is a serious crime. Justice has to work." Grace nodded through tears. I stood in silence. I couldn't speak, couldn't think. I could only see the image of Chloe being handcuffed. My daughter, my baby, the girl I carried in my arms, the girl I comforted when she cried, the girl I raised alone. When did I lose her? That afternoon, I went to the station. I couldn't help it. I needed to see her. They let me into the waiting area. Other families were there, women crying, kids sleeping on benches, lawyers whispering on phones. At 5 o'clock, they brought Chloe out. She was handcuffed, escorted by 2 officers. When she saw me, she stopped. "Mom?" I walked up. Officers let me speak to her, but no touching. Chloe had red eyes, messy hair, wrinkled clothes. "Mom, what is happening? Why did they arrest us? We didn't do anything. This is a mistake." I looked her in the eyes, and in that moment, I knew she was still lying, that she wasn't going to confess, that she would defend her innocence to the end. "Chloe," Grace woke up. Her face went pale. "What?" "She woke up 4 days ago, and she told me everything. The tea, the stairs, the fall." "Everything?" Chloe shook her head. "No, Mom, that's not true. She's confused. The coma confused her." "We didn't do anything. It was an accident." "I found the power of attorney, Chloe. The one Justin forged with Grace's signature." Her expression changed. I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. "Mom, I didn't know." "Don't lie to me anymore, Chloe, please. Just stop lying." She looked down. "Mom, we had so much debt. The bank was going to take everything. Justin was desperate. I was desperate. And Grace, she had so much money and wouldn't help us. What were we supposed to do?" I felt rage rising in my chest. "What were you supposed to do? Kill her? That was the solution?" "We weren't going to kill her, Mom. Just wanted her to have an accident. Something that looked natural so Justin could inherit and pay the debts. And then everything would go back to normal." I looked at her in disbelief. "Do you hear yourself, Chloe? Do you hear the insanity coming out of your mouth?" She started to cry. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake, but I don't deserve prison. Please, help me. Drop the charges. Talk to Grace. Convince her not to testify. Please, Mom, I'm your daughter." I looked at her, and for the first time in my life, I didn't recognize the person in front of me. "Yes, you are my daughter, and that is exactly why I am not going to help you escape the consequences. Because helping you now would destroy you forever," Chloe screamed. "Mom, no, please!" Officers grabbed her arms and pulled her away. She screamed my name, crying, begging. I stood in that cold hallway watching them take my daughter away, and I felt something inside me break for good. I still wonder if I did the right thing. What would you have done? That night, I went back to the hospital. 4th floor, Grace's room. She was asleep. I sat by her bed, and for the first time in days, I cried. Cried for my daughter. Cried for Grace. Cried for the family that was destroyed. Cried for the future we would never have. Attorney Davis told me the trial could take months, that Chloe and Justin faced serious charges, years in prison. Years. My daughter would spend years in a cell. But the alternative was worse. The alternative was letting her go free, knowing she tried to kill an innocent woman, knowing she was capable of that. I couldn't save her from the consequences, but maybe, just maybe, I could save her from herself. The days following the arrest were the darkest of my life. Chloe and Justin were denied bail. The judge determined there was enough evidence to proceed. The charges were heavy: attempted first-degree murder and fraud. Grace was discharged on November 15th, 8 weeks after her accident. Doctors were amazed at her recovery, called it a miracle she woke up. But I knew it wasn't a miracle. It was will. The will of a woman who refused to die at the hands of people who supposedly loved her. I helped her settle back into her Oak Park home. We cleaned the rooms together, opened windows to let in fresh air, threw out old sheets, bought flowers for the sunroom. It was like we were trying to erase the past, scrub away the blood no one else could see. One afternoon, over coffee, Grace said, "Susan, I want you to know something. I don't hold a grudge against Chloe." I looked at her, surprised. "How can you say that?" "Because holding a grudge would only destroy me. Chloe made a terrible mistake, but she was manipulated by Justin. He planned it. He convinced her." I shook my head. "Grace, Chloe is an adult. She made her own choices. You can't just blame Justin." "I know, but I also know what it's like to love someone so much you lose sight of who you are. I loved Justin's father like that, and I almost lost myself. Chloe lost her way, Susan. But she can still find it if she serves her time, if she learns. Are you going to forgive her?" Grace looked out the window at the garden where the flowers were withering in the cold. "I don't know if I can forgive her now, but maybe someday. Forgiveness isn't for her. It's for me." Her words stuck with me, because I carried a weight too, the weight of reporting my own child, the weight of knowing she was in a cell, the weight of asking myself every night if I did the right thing. I visited Chloe once, just once. It was November 20th. I went to the detention center, went through security, metal detectors. They took me to a visitor room with plastic tables. I waited 20 minutes, and then they brought her. Chloe walked in with a guard. Her hair was short. They had cut it. She wore a beige uniform. She had deep circles and had lost weight. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. She sat across from me, no touching allowed. "Mom." "Hi, Chloe." A long, uncomfortable silence. "How are you?" She laughed, a bitter, joyless laugh. "How do you think I am? I'm in jail. I sleep in a bunk with 5 other women, eat food with no taste, shower with cold water. And all the time, all the damn time, I think about how I got here." "You got here because of your choices, Chloe." She looked down. "I know." "Do you really?" She nodded. "Yes, Mom, I know. And I hate myself for it. I hate what I did. I hate that I disappointed you." Her tears hit the table. "But at the same time, Mom, I'm angry at you. Because you reported me. You put me here." I felt a stab in my chest. "I didn't put you here. Your actions put you here, but you made the call. You believed Grace instead of me." "I'm your daughter. Aren't mothers supposed to protect their children?" I looked her in the eye. "Protecting doesn't mean covering up. Protecting doesn't mean letting you commit a crime and walk away. Protecting you, in this case, meant stopping you, before it was too late, before you killed someone. Grace didn't die because she woke up. But if she hadn't, you'd be facing murder charges. Real murder. Do you understand the difference?" She didn't answer. "Chloe, I love you. I will always love you, but I cannot condone what you did, and I can't get you out of here. You have to face this, and when you get out, if you decide to rebuild your life, I'll be there to help. But not before." Chloe sobbed. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Mom." "I know, and that's okay. Maybe someday, or maybe not. But I did what I had to do, as a mother, as a human being." I stood up. "Take care of yourself, Chloe. Please, think about who you want to be when you walk out of here." I left that room without looking back, and when I got to my car, I cried for an hour. December arrived with unexpected cold. Chicago lit up for the holidays, but I didn't want to celebrate. Grace invited me to spend Christmas Eve at her house. At first, I hesitated. Spending Christmas with the woman my daughter tried to kill seemed strange, but I accepted, because we were alone, the 2 of us, alone in a city full of people. I arrived with cider and a cake. Grace had made ham and stuffing. The table was set beautifully. We ate in a comfortable silence. After dinner, we sat in the living room by the nativity scene. "Susan, can I say something?" Grace asked. "Sure." "Thank you. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for being brave when I couldn't be." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do, because you risked your relationship with your daughter to do what was right. That isn't easy. That takes a courage very few people have." I wiped a tear. "I don't feel brave, Grace. I feel broken." "I know. I feel broken too. But broken things can be mended. Maybe not like before, but they can work again. You and I are going to get through this." "What about Justin and Chloe?" Grace looked at the manger scene. "They will get through it too, but first they have to cross their own desert. And we can't walk that path for them. Do you think we can ever be a family again?" "I don't know. Maybe not the family we were, but maybe something different, something more honest." That night, back at my condo, I found a letter under my door. It was from Chloe, mailed from jail. "Mom, it's been 6 weeks since the arrest. 6 weeks to think. At first I was angry, furious. I thought you betrayed me, that you chose Grace over me. But this week, a psychologist gave a talk here. She spoke about responsibility, about how it's easier to blame others than accept our mistakes. And while I listened, I realized something. You didn't betray me. I betrayed myself. I betrayed the values you taught me. I still don't know if I can forgive you, but I'm starting to understand why you did it. I love you, Mom, even if I'm angry, even if I'm confused, even if I don't know what happens next. I folded the letter, put it in my drawer next to her childhood photos, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. Small, fragile, but enough. The new year came without fanfare. Grace and I toasted with cider at midnight. To a better year, Grace said. To a better year, I repeated, knowing better didn't mean easy. The trial started in January 2025. First hearing was the 14th. The courthouse was gray, crowded. Mr. Davis met us. Just the initial hearing today. You don't have to testify yet. We went in. Small courtroom. They brought Chloe and Justin in. First time I'd seen them together since the arrest. Justin had aged. Gray hair, gaunt face. Chloe still had the short hair, beige uniform. She didn't look at us. The hearing lasted 2 hours. Justin's lawyer argued lack of hard evidence, said Grace's coma memory was unreliable. Chloe's lawyer argued she was manipulated, a victim of psychological abuse by Justin. The judge set the next date for February 12th. 6 weeks later, we left the court. Grace was shaking. I can't believe Justin is still denying it. It's all he has left, Grace. If he admits guilt, he goes away for a long time. But it's the truth, Susan. Truth matters to us, not to him anymore. Routine and anguish defined the next weeks. I kept working part-time. Grace started therapy. She started writing in a new notebook. Therapeutic, she called it. One night, Grace asked, "Susan, have you thought about what you'll do when the trial ends?" "What do you mean?" "With your life. Will you stay in this condo? Keep working?" "I don't know. I haven't thought past the trial. It's like life is on pause." "Mine too," Grace admitted. "But we can't live like this forever. We can't let their actions define the rest of our lives." She was right. February 12th, second hearing. Grace had to testify. She took the stand, hands shaking. Mr. Davis guided her. "Mrs. Grace, tell us what happened September 24th. She took a breath and told it all. The tea, the dizziness, the stairs. When she mentioned the fall, her voice broke. "I reached for my son, and he just stepped back. He let me fall." "Objection," Justin's lawyer stood up. "Witness was in a coma. Memories are distorted." "Overruled," said the judge. "Witness is stating what she recalls." Justin's lawyer cross-examined. "Is it true you refused to lend your son money, that he was desperate?" "My son wasn't crazy, sir. He was greedy. There is a difference." Murmurs in the room. Chloe's lawyer tried to paint her as a victim who only obeyed out of fear, but Grace held firm. Chloe is an adult, a lawyer. She knows right from wrong. She made her own choices. In March, a development. Justin decided to cut a deal. He would confess for a reduced sentence, 12 years instead of 20. "And Chloe?" Grace asked. "Still negotiating. Her lawyer wants less time as an accomplice." Grace closed her eyes. 12 years, 20 years, doesn't matter. I already lost my son. In April, Justin confessed in court, admitted the plan, the forgery, convincing Chloe. Sentencing was April 20th, 2025. Justin, 14 years. Chloe, 8 years. I felt relief and sorrow. Justice was done. But my daughter would be in prison for 8 years. She'd be 40 when she got out. I'd be 67. Could we rebuild? I didn't know. But justice didn't just come from the courts. In May, Grace's properties in Lincoln Park were secured. Grace donated the rental income to a shelter for domestic violence victims. "I don't want that money," she said. "It almost cost me my life." She sold the Oak Park house too. Too many ghosts. She bought a sunny condo in Lakeview overlooking a park. "Fresh start," she said. One afternoon in her new place, Grace said, "You know the irony? Justin wanted my money. And now that he's finally going to inherit one day, he won't be able to enjoy it because he'll be in jail. Life collects its debts, sometimes late, but it collects. She was right. In June, I got a call from the prison. Chloe had been in an incident. I went to see her. She was in the infirmary, bandaged arm, bruise on her cheek. "Fight over a bar of soap," she said, laughing bitterly. "That's my life now." "Mom, I'm not okay. I'm alone. Justin won't speak to me, blames me for pushing for the money." "And you?" "I think we're both guilty, but it's easier to blame me." "Mom, you were right. I chose the easy way, and now I'm paying." I held her hand. "You still have time, Chloe. 8 years is a long time, but it's an opportunity to change." She nodded. "Will you keep visiting?" "Yes, even if we're angry." It's been 14 months since November 2024. Today is January 2026. I'm sitting in Grace's new apartment, watching the park. Life goes on. Grace turned 69 last month. We had a small party, cake, wine, laughter. "You know what I wished for?" she asked me. Peace. Not happiness, just peace. For me, for Justin, for Chloe. I visit Chloe every 2 weeks. It's hard seeing her in that uniform, but I go. She works in the prison library now, reading a lot. Discovering a part of myself I forgot, she says. She finally admitted her role. "I wasn't a victim, Mom. I was an accomplice. I have to live with that." I was moved by her honesty. She was finally growing up. Grace is writing a book about her survival. To help other women, she says. In March, she got a letter from Justin. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He admitted he didn't deserve it. He just said he missed her, missed the person he used to be. Grace cried, but she didn't write back. "Not yet," she said. "I need more time." 2 weeks ago, Chloe told me, "Mom, thank you for not saving me. If you had covered for me, I never would have learned. I would have become someone worse. I love you, Mom. Someday, I'll prove your sacrifice was worth it." I held her hand and knew my daughter wasn't lost. She was finding herself. Today, sitting in this bright apartment with Grace, I think about everything we lost and everything we gained. We didn't get perfect justice, because that doesn't exist, and deep wounds never fully heal. But we gained wisdom, the wisdom to know that doing the right thing rarely feels good in the moment, and that love doesn't mean shielding someone from consequences. While this story is a work of fiction, the truth it holds is real for many families navigating betrayal and greed. Boundaries are the highest form of love, even when they break your heart. Thank you for listening.